Folks, welcome into sportsbookreview.com. We are here to talk some Week 11 NFL action. Big game on deck tonight between Arizona and Seattle. Huge card on Sunday. Kyle, as we say, we sharpened our pencils. It's time to get busy. It's Thursday, right here, football season. What do you think, Kyle?
Oh, I'm excited, especially for tonight's game. It's kind of a shame it's on Thursday Night Football. You know, two great teams. You kind of wish they had a full week to prepare and get fully healthy, but I'm looking forward to tonight. It's probably the best Thursday night game we've had all year, so that'll be fun. We had a good one last week too, I guess, the Colts and the Titans. Not a bunch of weather issues. Even the worst weather game doesn't look all that bad. I know there's a lot of freaking out there, so I'm excited for Week 11. It's time to get ready for the fantasy football playoffs soon. We've got Thanksgiving next week. We've got a great sports weekend, a pay-per-view. It's a good time to be alive. I know all the craziness going on in the world, but if you're a sports fan, it's a good time to be alive.
Yeah, you brought up a lot of good points here. Weather conditions not so bad here. And when we take a look at tonight's game before we actually break it down, possible drizzle, 49 degrees. That is a beach day up in Seattle. So not going to be, too many issues here. Of course, there's going to be no fans in the stands. You got the turf. So even if it does rain, you're not really worried. And two guys that can really get after it at the quarterback position. So big Week 11 set up here. And you guys know today we're going to go over the entire card. We're going to go over the game tonight specifically, take a look at some prop bets a little bit later in the show. And also when Kelsey Kramer does join us. But we are going to set up this entire card for Week 11. Before we get to do that, 73,900 subscribers have hit that subscribe button right here on our YouTube channel at sportsbookreview.com. We are so close to 74,000 subscriptions. I cannot wait until we reach that number, Kyle. Triple digits. Now, I always like to joke around and say, I don't know if Kyle will be here to see the triple digits, but we can always hope on it, right, Kyle?
Yeah, that's right. Well, we'll have to see after Monday night. It's always we're always walking that tightrope there, and I'm always checking my emails frantically at 5 a.m. on Tuesday morning. But maybe I'll be around to see it. Hopefully, we'll see how I behave.
Well, a good part about that tonight, Kyle, is at least you'll be around to watch tonight's game, 321, 322.
Right.
Out in your neck of the woods here. Arizona and Seattle, Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson. If we take a look at SBRodds.com right now, right around a 55% of the ticket count coming in on Arizona. If we look across the board, we talked about it on our Tuesday show, was an extremely high number. We even had 58.5s floating around, sort of a buyback on that. And I guess I can't fault it because even if you're not capping this game, you look at 58.5 and you say, I know they can score that many points, but one red zone fumble, a missed extra point, or even a missed field goal, and probably will do that in. So we're still sitting at 57s across the board. Also, the line has moved here on the side, opening up as a -4.5 offshore Pinnacle. We're now seeing the threes, even some outlets still showing, Kyle, at -2.5. I agree with that line movement lower. Some general thoughts heading into this game. We know Seattle's defense is bad. Seattle went on the road last week, lost to the Los Angeles Rams. We also saw the Arizona Cardinals in a miracle win over the Buffalo Bills. Now, our talking point on this game would be interesting if it was reversed for us. Let's just say Seattle still went down and lost to the Rams. But how about that Hail Mary by Kyler Murray gets knocked away? They lose that game to the Bills at home, and the previous week before they lose to the Dolphins. Maybe this game isn't as hyped, and maybe people are saying, Seattle just will be able to handle them. It's amazing how one dynamic play can change the culture. And I got to say, though, I agree with the line movement from 4.5 down to 3s and some 2.5s across the board. I think it's the right move here.
Yeah, it really comes down to Seattle's just banged up. And, you mentioned it. They have one of the historically worst secondaries in football. Like, this is one of the worst teams against the pass ever. Then you look, and Quentin Dunbar, he's going to miss. Shaquille Griffin's going to miss. So now it's, DJ Reed and all these other, placeholders in the secondary. You got Tyler Lockett banged up. You've got, Chris Carson's probably not going to play. They are going to get Carlos Hyde back. One thing I want to address, there's been especially in the DFS world. Well, Alex Collins will be the running back. Alex Collins got reverted back to the practice squad on Monday. He cannot, if they bring him up again, it has to be on a fully guaranteed contract. You cannot be called up 3 times in a regular season from the practice squad. So you'll most likely see Carlos Hyde, DJ Dallas sitting at 600 on DraftKings, and then Bo Scarborough will probably be called up to play in this game. Just that's what you're looking at. Then you've got Tyler Lockett, who's going to play but dealing with the sprained knee, on this short week. So the cards seem to be aligning, no pun intended, for Arizona tonight. It's scary to bet against Russell Wilson at home, especially with the short line. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I don't think you're crazy to bet on Seattle. It's a tough one to pick. I like Arizona. We saw them win a close one a few weeks back in that huge offensive day for all the Cardinals receivers, and Tyler Lockett, of course, had a historic day. But right now, I'm leaning Arizona. I can't do the 57 thing. Do I think they could go over? Sure. Or 58, now you're seeing some 58s, like you said, 58 and a half. Do I think they could go over? Sure, but you're right. It only takes one. You need everything to go right. I mean, absolutely everything to go right to get that amount of points. Some colder, drizzly weather. Not sure they get there. I'm staying away from that. Scared of this one, but I'm taking Arizona.
Yeah, played the Dome last time, Kyle, because we always take about 58, 58 and a half, 57 points. Everything needs to go right. Well, it basically did last time. They played 37-34, which would give you 71 total points. You look at the offensive side of the football for Seattle in that game, and what do we have in there? 572 yards, and then another ridiculous performance out of Arizona, who had 160 yards on the ground and 360 in the air to try to combat Arizona. So when we look at it, and not much help was on the way here for Seattle on defense. It just seems like everybody who's eligible to play to start the season is no longer eligible to play on their defense outside of their two really good linebackers. They don't really have a good pass rush, nothing in the secondary. And you take a look at an offense that's booned by Kyler Murray, who can just get out of the pocket, throw lasers, do whatever he wants. And the same thing can be said on the opposite side. Arizona doesn't have a great defense, and it's banged up as well. Patrick Peterson right now, name probably means more than his actual performance on the field. Both of these teams should be able to get after. One of the more alarming injuries this week that I was looking at, though, is because I love Russell Wilson. I really do. He's not going to have his running game. He can still make that work depending who's back with Carlos Hyde tonight. But you talk about DK Metcalf on one side, who's a great wide receiver. He's great because Tyler Lockett can make him great on the opposite side, so he can't focus. Early in the week, we had the knee injury. Looks like he's going to give it a go in this one. I went a different way because to be honest with you, this is going to be a fun game to watch. DFS players looking at either quarterback here. You see the over-unders, Kyle. We talked about it before the show. 315 over-under passing yards for Wilson, like 285 for Kyler Murray. We're going to get points in this game. So if I'm looking at this from a capping perspective and say, where can I come in? Typically on a Thursday night game where Arizona just won a crazy game at home. Now they're going to go on the road. You have the Seattle, the 12 screaming as loud as they can. But obviously they're not there tonight. So you don't get that home boost. Instead of saying, I think Arizona can win or I think Seattle can win in this game, I'm going to move it over to the first half. And if I think this is a coin flip, I'm going to take points here. I think Arizona can be up at the half. Worst case scenario, be tied. I'm going to take the first half Arizona Cardinals +1 tonight, and that should show you what I think about the full game. Either team can win this game. I'm just trying to play the percentages by saying, Kyle, I'm not sure if Seattle can win it. I'm not sure if Arizona can win this game. Do I want to lean on the 3 because that means that Russell Wilson is back in that role of one-possession game? He's down 3. Do you think he's going to go down and kick a field goal? No, he's punching it in. They're going to win by 4 points, and up goes my 3 in smoke. I'm just going to take it to the half. Hopefully Arizona is the last team with the ball and it's tied, so I can only push or win that. I'm going Arizona first half +1. Which way are you looking from a side or maybe a total perspective here, Kyle, in this game?
Yeah, what I ended up going with is I looked for some value, and I took Arizona, the race to first to 20 at +127. I think they can jump out early. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win because we know there's probably few quarterbacks, if any, you would rather have than Russell Wilson when trailing in a football game. Again, with the injuries at running back, I know they get Carlos Hyde back, but it's going to be a Russell Wilson day. He struggled with turnovers the last few weeks. He knows it. So I do think you see him more focused, but I could see Arizona getting to 21st and Seattle making a comeback. It's a close game either way. I understand betting either side, but for me, I took a little bit of value, took some plus money, and said Arizona first to 20. That is the route that I went for tonight's game.
It's wild when you look at this, too. You see the two quarterbacks here, Arizona, Seattle, right? We know what Russell Wilson can do. Hasn't been as dynamic the past couple weeks, and they're quite frankly, they're on losers of 3 or 4 games. They really need to bounce back, but so does Arizona has to put on a show. The tough part is I know Seattle and Russell Wilson are going to make plays, but the more I watch Arizona's offense with Kyler Murray, honestly, Kyle, I don't know how you stop it. And the only way maybe is you get the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front 7 to say, we're just going to beat the hell out of your offensive line and collapse the pocket. Eventually you will tire out. Who is pressuring Kyler Murray in this game where he can't be effective? So, he's got guys in his face, or they're really containing on the outside. Outside of those 2 linebackers in the middle of the field, there is 0 resistance on that Seattle team.
Yeah, none. Absolutely none. And Kyler Murray, really the only way they're going to stop him is if Kyler Murray beats himself. And we've sort of seen it earlier this year, game against Carolina, where he made some mistakes in that game. But that's really it. There's aside from Jamal Adams, who isn't this, I'm stopping the pass and flying all over the field in the secondary. He's more of a linebacker, plays up in front. the Cardinals don't care. They're going to give the ball to Kenyon Drake. He's healthy. He'll carry the ball a little bit. But Kyler Murray's going to be running all over the place. DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, Fitzgerald, all of these guys are going to be wide open. That secondary can't cover anyone. And we mentioned all the injuries. So man, that Seattle defense is so bad. It does feel like a trap. I saw that in the chat box. It does feel like a trap. I know a lot of people are high on Arizona and down on Seattle. I just think it's a very close game. Too close for me to feel real comfortable taking either side. That's why I took the first of 20. I think Arizona's offense comes out hot. Seattle sort of sees what they have. Carlos Hyde coming back. How is he going to look? So a few moving parts there. How healthy will Tyler Lockett be? Arizona's just healthier. They have a few more players on defense than Seattle does, even though you're right. They're absolutely dreadful, aside from Patrick Peterson, who still isn't the same Patrick Peterson, but he's certainly better than anything Seattle has to offer. And then you look at, Byron Murphy and Drake Kirkpatrick for Arizona. Not all that great over there as well, but I would give the slight advantage in those secondaries to Arizona. So over in the offense, more healthy weapons, more options, and Kyler Murray is on the rise. So if I was betting a side, I'm taking Arizona, and I actually think the first 20 is going to hit. I hope so. We'll see. Could very well, this game could very well, just like the last one, come down to the last possession and maybe even overtime like they did last time.
Yeah, your original point that does hold a lot of value, where if this game was probably on Sunday, where both teams can get an extra couple days of healthy game plan and get rested and ready, because when you take a look at the offense, just looking at the offense from Arizona, not even from a yards perspective, look at the points the last 5 games. 30 against the Jets, 38 against the Cowboys, 37 against the Seattle team, 31 versus Miami, and 32 last week versus Buffalo. Their team total right now sits in that 27 range. That's another side I was looking at. But again, short week, maybe a little rainy conditions. I still think they put up points, but you're going to need to have, estimated at least 4 touchdowns, which they can get to. I like Arizona being up at the half a little bit more, but just looking overall at their offense, it's absolutely humming. I mean, last 3 games, again, when I brought up Seattle, 160 yards on the ground, 360 in the air. Versus Miami, 178 on the ground, 264 in the air. Versus Buffalo, 217 on the ground, 236 in the air. It's an amazing offense to go out there and watch, and I don't think there's much of a resistance. So I lean all across the board Arizona. I'm just going to settle on going with that first half. Now, guys, at the end of the show, we're going to circle back around and do some prop bets for this game as well and wrap up our initial thoughts on this game. But let's get to that Sunday card and really have some fun to sink our teeth into. First game we're going to get to is Philadelphia and Cleveland, 451, 452. Carson Wentz and Baker Mayfield, a 50-50 ticket split on this game. Now, we have had some movement in this game. Opened up at 3.5, was at 3s, jumped up to 3.5, even saw some 4s in this game, but now again back to 3s across the board. I do agree with that line move. It did have some COVID issues coming out of Philadelphia today. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside comes down with COVID. 2 other practice squad guys are, Hightower and I believe it was Deontay Burnett, both going to go on that, COVID watch list, which they say, hey, they can't play Sunday, need 5 days. We've seen people go on that COVID list one day, and the very next day, Chris Jones is, a matter of fact, from Kansas City. Hey, he was close to the trainer, Rick Burkhalter. He's not going to play this Sunday, and one day he was cleared. Same thing with Kyle Van Noy down in Miami. So keep track, but these aren't legitimate guys that are going to worry about the game plan. Right. Say, you know what, Kyle, hey, JJ's not going to play in this game. I can't take the Eagles. That's not going to be the case. Yeah, you just want to watch to hope nobody else goes on that. But looking at the game itself, over-under has risen as well. We had 45.5s and 46s out here, now turned into 47s. Here's my problem with that as I look into it, because I had my figure on the trigger earlier on the Philadelphia Eagles, was hoping. It was sitting at 20.5 at a couple books here in New Jersey. I wanted that number to go down to 20. Why? 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals. That at least gives you a push. 20.5 or 21, you're going to need more points than that, which means another scoring drive. It actually went up to around 21.5 and 22 at outlets. The issue I'm having now is earlier in the week on Monday, and Tuesday specifically, when we did the show, we were looking at temperatures around that 50 range, 5 to 6 mile an hour winds, no precipitation. So I'm saying, hey, you know what? Maybe Carson Wentz going to get off in this game. Maybe Baker Mayfield, after 2 straight home games and hurricane conditions, they can open up the offense. And we see the Eagles aren't all that's cracked up to be at linebacker and secondary. Now I'm seeing the 40-degree weather. Now I'm seeing the rain come into the forecast, and I start to back off and say, who does this actually benefit? I still think the Eagles will be able to play into this game, but I have to tell you, if it's going to be another one of those rainy condition game, cold weather, I'm going to lean on the better offensive line, which is Cleveland. The 2 better, I love Miles Sanders, but the 2 running backs I would rather have, obviously Kareem Hunt and also Nick Chubb in this game. I think Cleveland has enough to win this football game, but I think that number 3 is right. I see a close victory for the Cleveland Browns in this one from my perspective.
Oh man, it's tough to trust either of these teams, and I am really down on the Eagles. The Eagles have personally hurt me quite a bit, especially last week. But then you're right. Can you trust Cleveland? Now, this isn't going to be the same bad weather conditions from what I see. And again, I'm not a meteor. I'll be checking this all the way up until game time. If I'm betting this game, it will not be happening on Thursday or Friday or even early Saturday. It will be when I know, if the winds are going to be double digits and the rain's coming down, you can just hop on the over. And I do think you take Cleveland, even though they haven't performed well in those two games that we saw. They really haven't. And those games against Houston and the Raiders, they didn't look great. But Philadelphia, absolute dumpster fire over there. First place, Philadelphia Eagles, mind you. Of course,
right.
You know that.
Get it straight over there.
That's right. They're first place Eagles, probably playoff bound, unfortunately. That's what we're looking at here in the landscape. One thing to keep an eye on is Myles Garrett. He did miss practice yesterday, minor illness. I expect he'll be fine. Doesn't appear to be COVID related. If they don't have Myles Garrett, that certainly helps the Eagles. That's a big time loss for Cleveland defensively, especially in those conditions. We know Carson Wentz is prone to turn the football over. The entire Eagles team is. But I think you're right. When I'm 50-50 on a game like this, I like the running game, obviously, exponentially better in Cleveland. Denzel Ward's a pretty good corner on the outside, so we should be able to, sort of shadow and contain whoever. I don't know if he'll shadow any of the receivers or probably stay on one side and just try to shut down Rager or Fulgham when they're out there. So right now, I just cannot trust the Philadelphia Eagles. They've given me no reason to believe that they're anything close to competent. So right now, I lean Cleveland, and if the weather gets a little bit worse or it's going to be nasty, I'd probably lean the under. The Browns have shown, and Baker Mayfield has shown, he does not thrive in those conditions. Not a ton of weapons out there aside from the running backs either. I know Jarvis Landry's around, but are we really that excited about Rashard Higgins and Donovan Peoples-Jones? They don't really use Austin Hooper the way he was being used in Atlanta. I know Philadelphia is healthier than they've been in a while. It's kind of weird to look at their injury report and only see a couple players. But if I'm taking a side here, I'll just take the home team, and I'll take Cleveland.
And also keep in mind, Zach Ertz has not been activated off the IR yet, but he has practiced twice this week, so that might be an extra boost coming where now you can have that theoretical double tight end shot there with Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz. Gives more weapons to Carson Wentz. Now, when we look at Cleveland on the season here, Kyle, open up the season, they got stunted by Baltimore right off the bat. Same old Browns. But they had a nice 4-game run. But a lot of those 4-game runs outside of Indianapolis, who's a really good football team, beat up on some bums. Then they go back to Pittsburgh and get crushed again. Last 3 games, though, you remember the Cincinnati game on the road? Baker Mayfield had to pull out a miracle victory to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Then they lose horrifically 16-6 to Las Vegas. And then you saw last week Houston 10-7 in a game that, hey, maybe Chubb runs it in. You don't feel so bad at 17-7. But these are all close games against some average football teams, and that's what's factoring in. Now, again, Kyle is right. Check those weather conditions. Be your own weather meteorologist. Don't leave it up to the national guys or anybody that takes a picture at 9 a.m. from the stadium where the wind is blowing and the rain is coming down, and you say, oh, my God, got to take the under. Wait on those stuff. You can do your own. There's so many good weather forecasters out there. Do your own research. Can certainly help you out. But just leaning in this game, Kyle, by the way, 47-47.5 here in this game. I think we're on the same wavelength. I actually like the over early in the week, but I'm coming around to the under in this game.
Yeah, me too. And it's just the weather thing. We'll have to see how bad it is. If it's warmer weather, these are 2 beatable defenses, no doubt about it. And the Philadelphia secondary has clearly underperformed from what we expected, after acquiring, Slay and Roby Coleman. We thought, hey, they really addressed the weakness of this team, but it hasn't really appeared to be that way. Now, they're not facing a great receiving core in Cleveland. I do think Cleveland is one of the more fraudulent teams with a winning record right now, and obviously Philadelphia is the most fraudulent first-place team in the history of first-place teams. But, I think especially if it just gets a little bit windier and we know there's going to be rain, you've seen it. Baker Mayfield doesn't play well. That offense doesn't respond, and what they're going to do is rely on the running game, try to take away some of that pass rush for Philadelphia. And the Eagles will do the same thing. Cleveland's very susceptible on the ground, certainly a little bit better in the secondary. So I do think the under is the play right now. Again, I would keep an eye on that weather. I wouldn't bet that right now. I would keep an eye on the weather. Be your own meteorologist, as you say. Do not rely on my dumbass to be your meteorologist. Let me just assure you of that. But right now, I do. I just lean Cleveland. I cannot trust the Eagles after what I saw last week against the Giants. I got to go Cleveland, sadly enough.
Yep, rip it through the 1 o'clock games here on this Sunday's card. 4:53, 4:54, Atlanta and New Orleans. Matt Ryan goes on the road. We know he's going to be the starting quarterback, but if you take a look from the opposite side, the New Orleans Saints saying all the right things now, but I think we're going to get a nice little mix here, maybe 75% Jameis Winston, 25% from Taysom Hill as the backup. I agree also with this line movement. We opened up around that 5 range, knowing that Drew Brees wasn't going to be the quarterback, but now we're seeing those movements down to 4s primarily across the board. Still some 5s, 4.5s. Do your shopping there at SBRodds.com. Always make sure to get the best line possible because, hey, a point here, point there at the end of the season, going to save yourself some money. Opening up as a total 51. I'm even seeing some now at 52. And I got to say, Kyle, I completely disagree with this. And here's the reason why. Usually when we take a look at an Atlanta matchup versus New Orleans, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, plethora of wide receivers for the New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees in a dome, because they both have domes, obviously. So it's always going to be nice weather. I'm actually looking opposite. I really wanted to get a feel for the New Orleans offense. Now, keep in mind also, it's not really fair to Jameis Winston being the second or third quarterback technically on the team where he's not getting any snaps midweek. Hey, by the way, Jameis, you're going in second half cold into this game. See what you can do. Only threw for 60 yards in the second half, but that New Orleans defense really turned up the juice and went after the 49ers, who, again, don't have a great offense. A lot of guys banged up, and Nick Mullins is the quarterback. I think we're getting a competent effort out of Atlanta here in this football game, specifically from Matt Ryan's perspective. Veteran quarterback, that defense is going to come after him, but it's not anything that he hasn't seen before. But when we look overall, last 5 games, let's just say for the Atlanta Falcons, 3-2 in those games, winners of 3 of their last 4. But even in the loss to Carolina, lose 23-16, competitive, blow the doors off Minnesota once they made the change at head coach, 40-23. Let's keep in mind also, they lost to Detroit, but they lost 23-22 in that game, beat Carolina, then beat Denver. This isn't a team that looks like what we thought it was going to be a couple weeks ago, just looking to get into the draft, lose as many games as possible, maybe get into the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. That's not the case. This team is playing hard, but I'm not so sure from an offensive perspective. And also keep in mind, Alvin Kamara hasn't practiced yet this week for New Orleans. That could be a major loss if he's even at 75%. 100%, he can dominate football games. That's the way I'm looking at this game. I like New Orleans. I love their defense, but Atlanta now is rested, playing hard. I'm going to take the points in this one.
Yeah, I'm taking the Falcons. And look, it's not just he's not practicing. It's a foot issue with a running back. You never want to see that with your running back. And, of course, they want to run the ball a little bit more. They know that the problem with Jameis Winston, look, the guy threw for, 10,000 yards last year and, 30 touchdowns. But he's a turnover machine. He's not still, didn't seem all that comfortable in the offense. I know he didn't get to practice throughout the week. It's just hard for me to take New Orleans without Drew Brees, with Jameis Winston, and if Alvin Kamara is limited. They're going to be going to, Latavius Murray. Atlanta has absolutely played better over the last several weeks with Raheem Morris at coach, that defense especially. So, and I like the under in this game. The New Orleans defense is legit. Another injury to keep an eye on is Marshawn Lattimore. He sort of got banged up in that game. He's been limited. It looks like he will go. But even if he's limited and unable to keep up with Julio Jones, it could be a big game for Julio Jones in the Dome. I actually like Atlanta, and I think that total, I'm looking at 51s across the board, some 50.5s. I think it goes under here. I think you see more of a conservative approach. I do think the Saints can keep the Falcons' offense in check. The real question is, what will that Saints offense look like with Jameis Winston / Taysom Hill a little bit and a banged-up Alvin Kamara? I'm not sure they put up a ton of points here. This feels like a close game. I'll take the Falcons and the points, and I actually like the under quite a bit in this one as well.
Yeah, if we can get Jameis Winston from last year throwing 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in this game, we'd be off and running with the 52. Yeah. But I just see a more condensed offense where Jameis Winston is saying, hey, coach, I know in the past I was playing, basically Xbox football and just having fun out here throwing for a ton of yards, touchdowns. Who cares about the interceptions? But now I think he wants to show them that he can compete under this offense. And again, I did preference it. It's not fair coming into the second half and say, well, Jameis didn't look that electric in the game. You don't even get any snaps during the week. You're basically just on air and ice cold coming into a football game and expected to perform. Got the job done. They won the football game, and they're going to lean more on their defense this week. But I do think Atlanta can make enough plays on offense to keep it close. I'm just not sure we get that open book offense from Sean Payton this one. Again, about a 75-25 split probably feels about right in this game between the two quarterbacks that'll play. Let's keep it moving at 1 o'clock and stay in the, somewhat in the same division of the NFC South and a little bit of the NFC North. 4:55, 4:56, Detroit and quarterback for Detroit, and looks like undecided, obviously, for Carolina, which is a pretty good chance Teddy Bridgewater's not going to play this week. Limped around on Wednesday, limped around on Thursday again. You just can't put a quarterback out there that can't get out of the way and protect himself. He's not going to start, which leads it to now the PJ Walkers of the world, Temple alumnus, Will Greers of the world, Florida and West Virginia. Do you want to put your money on that? But then you flip it over, Kyle, and we say, all right, if I don't want to put my money on whoever is going to be a quarterback for Carolina and not a great defense, Matthew Stafford got banged up in the Washington game this past weekend, and he's got a thumb injury on his throwing hand and is having problems throwing practice. Kenny Golladay looks like he's probably not going to make it to the starting line. Danny Amendola has been missing practices. DeAndre Swift sits out today with concussion issues, one of the bright spots on that offense. Hey, maybe we found our running back. How can we put up? We're not going to spend a lot of time, but I don't know. That's just why we have a show on Sunday at 1 o'clock, because we'll know who's actually in and out. But spending a lot of time where so many moving parts doesn't make a lot of sense. But it's an interesting game. But who is finding value in this game? Like, you know what? Love Detroit here.
I don't know how you possibly could. Like every important player, Kenny Golladay, you mentioned it, probably won't play. DeAndre Swift added to the injury report. Concussion, didn't practice. Danny Amendola. Marvin Jones didn't practice Wednesday.
There you go. Yes,
today.
Correct.
TJ Hawkinson, limited with that toe issue. He did play through it last week. And then you got Carolina. If you don't know if it's going to be Teddy Bridgewater or, PJ Walker, whom I do love from the XFL, there's just no way you can do anything with this game right now. For DFS purposes, I like Mike Davis for Carolina. Detroit's awful against the run. So that's, I guess, one thing I can look at in this game in a different sort of format. But no, run for the hills, wait till Sunday, find out who's going to play if you're desperate to bet on this game. Seems like a pretty even matchup. I guess one thing I note, too, to keep in mind is, will Detroit rush some of these players in when they know they have to play again on Thanksgiving Day as well? Against Houston, they'll be playing in 4 days. And they're always, I believe they're the early game. They always are. They're that 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern game every Thanksgiving. So, run for the hills. Wait till Sunday. If you put money on this game right here, you're just playing Russian roulette. You're rolling the dice, and good luck to you. But I have nothing for that. I don't know what the hell you do with that game.
Yeah, shout out to P.J. Walker, too, who started as P.J. Walker, but then tried to get drafted into the NFL and went to Philip Walker, because that would have made him sound a little bit more studious, going back to P.J. Walker. So big ups there to the Temple alum. We'll see how he does. And he probably, if we had to say who's going to start this weekend, I got to feel Matt Rule's got the affinity for P.J. Walker, and he gets to start. Do you think he gets to start over, even though Will Greer did have some action last year in the NFL?
It's P.J. Walker. Even when he went out, who's the first guy that came in was P.J. Walker.
Yep.
He was a beast with those Houston Roughnecks, throwing the ball to Cam Phillips, and he's ready to take over. I actually really I have an affinity for P.J. Walker myself, because I had some fun covering the XFL. Do I think that means they're going to sail to victory? Not so much. Yeah. Well, you just gotta wait and see. I mean, right now, I'm finding a hard time even finding this game on the board. So just wait till you find out what's going on at quarterback and what's going on at the skill positions for Detroit. Sunday, noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. Join us then. We should know a whole lot more by then.
Raheem Hunt in the chat box. Russ isn't going to let them get swept tonight. We'll see what that is. Jimmy Legs, Hawks are desperate. And Eddie Sanchez, great show, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Eddie and Akbar comes in here. Complete stay-away game. It really is, but I got to say, when you start hearing that Jaws music in the background and they flip up a team total that's somewhere around 20 with P.J. Walker, I'm going to be just like this, looking behind the tree, saying, how can I get involved in this game? But hopefully I don't have to do that. We'll see what happens here as it goes to Sunday. 4:57, 4:58, New England. Hey, how about this? Nice win. Windy, wet weather at home. Cam Newton's dancing. Couple wins in a row. All of a sudden, we're talking about taking a look at New England's futures to win a Super. Well, no, we're really not, but it was kind of a nice little build-up to this game. New England and Houston. Deshaun Watson last week wasn't able to do much in those windy conditions. I'm interested to see how he bounces back in this game, because as we know, obviously going down to Houston, it is a dome. Here's the issue in the stack up in this game. I don't believe in New England. They open up at 2.5. We're seeing it drop down. 1.5, 2s across the board. I agree with that movement, but here's what it boils down to, Kyle, for myself. New England's coaching staff is going to be able to outcoach Houston. You have the more dynamic offense on Houston's side. I understand that. Deshaun Watson is a great quarterback in the NFL. Legitimate weapons at wide receiver. Mix and match at running back. We'll see what they get. No pass rush from New England. He should have plenty of time. But I just can't get over looking at that Houston defense, Kyle, coming into this game where New England is going to say, hey, We want to run the ball 40 times and pass it 20 in this game. How does Houston stop New England on offense? Because I don't like Cam Newton as a quarterback in today's NFL. But for games like this and just to win a football game, he can be legitimate and perform in this type of scenario. Is it enough for Deshaun Watson to be athletic enough to win this football game? He could be. I don't like New England being the favorite, but you know what? I can see why. Are we throwing money on Houston's defense out here, knowing they can't stop the run with a legitimate offensive line for the Patriots, a good ground attack? I just think their game plan is going to be better than Houston's. That's the way I would go in this game, even though I hate this game.
Yo, I hate this game so much, but you're absolutely right. Houston cannot stop the run even when they know it's coming. And now you talk Stephon Gilmore should probably be back this week. It looks like he's practicing on a limited basis. When you watch Houston games, and we watch them all, what do you see? It's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5, and there's no time for Deshaun Watson, and they can't.
They can play Deshaun. Yep.
Yeah, it's up to him to be completely heroic, and his receivers. It doesn't bode well. And then you look at the strength of New England's the running game, and Houston can't stop the run. So when you have a strength versus weakness on both sides, I gotta lean New England here. Again, this is another game I will not be putting any of my money on. But Damian Harris, Rex Burkhead, these guys are going to run up and down the field on Houston. Houston's going to have a much harder time stopping New England's running game than New England's going to have stopping that offense for Houston, simply because, they're just not all that efficient. The offensive line's not very good. I know Cooks and Will Fuller are decent. They're okay. Another thing to keep an eye on, too, is Duke Johnson. They're already without David Johnson. Duke Johnson missed practice yesterday with an illness. He's non-COVID related, of course, or as that's what they tell us anyway. So he should be available. But, man, it's a lot of pressure to put on Deshaun Watson. And when your defense is going to be on the field as much as it seems like Houston's is going to be, trying to stop that run, getting ground out up and down the field, I don't think I could see Houston getting a little bit of a lead early, maybe having a nice drive at home to start opening drive. I don't think it sustains. That defense wears out. New England takes over. I think New England is the bet here if you're going to do it. Me personally, staying the hell away from this game.
Yeah, we see the over-under also open, Kyle, at 47, now inching closer to 48.5 and 49 across the board. And I got to say, even with that, I disagree. Look, I know New England put up points against the Jets. Everybody goes up and down the field against the Jets. It's a matter of what your game plan is. If you're going to sit there and Josh McDaniel and Bill Belichick get together and be like, well, how can we beat Houston? Let's let Cam throw it 40 times. That's not going to be the case. It's going to be first downs. It's going to be running the football. And if Houston can't stop it, that's going to bleed the clock. Now, the one thing we also know on the opposite side, Houston can get some big plays, but if Stephon Gilmore comes back and is healthy for this one, he lines up over or Fuller. That's going to balance out a lot of their offense and what they want to do. And you bring up a great point. You're not just going to run the football against this bad defense because you don't really have anybody to run the football with. Slight lean for me on New England. We'll see what changes here on Sunday, but also a lean if I'm going to look at a 49 and under as well. Let's go down to Jacksonville, 459, 460. Maybe a look-ahead moment here for Pittsburgh. As we know, the showdown, one of the best rivalries in football, Pittsburgh and the Baltimore Ravens, going to take place only a couple days after on Thanksgiving night. Ben Roethlisberger completely in control right now. Undefeated team. Wiped the floor with Cincinnati last week. The interesting part about the Steelers here, and we brought it up a couple times already on this show, I don't want to say it's a shame, but lucky for the rest of the NFL that the Steelers don't really have a running game whatsoever. 40 yards, 50 yards, 40 yards. They can't run it against anybody, but Ben is having a sensational year and his wide receivers are really chipping in well. Sooner or later, that is going to come to hurt them. So the question I have in this game, because I'm looking at that team total for Pittsburgh, the 27s and a half, 27s. I think it's legitimate because if this was a normal standing game Sunday to Sunday, Pittsburgh should be able to throw the football all over the place and just, put up another 30 spot against a weak defense the same way they did last week against Cincinnati. But it's one of those things where you want to get in with the win, get out with the win, then lick your wounds and get after the Baltimore Ravens on Thanksgiving night and put them to sleep in the division. How motivated of a Steelers team we're going to have? Doesn't feel like the bettors are chiming out because we had the 9.5s that now turn into 10s, 10.5s, and some 11s across the board. I think the Steelers should win this football game rather easily, but one of those crunch situations where they know they can win this game. We know they can. Even you saw the Mike Tomlin press conference, Kyle, where he's getting asked from the press like, hey, Jacksonville, you'll win this game easy. Like, whoa. This isn't like the MAC in the Big Ten. This is professional football out here. The mindset is creeping in where they want to stay undefeated and take it out on the Ravens. But if I'm looking at just a standalone game, I don't see Jackson. This isn't the Green Bay Packers on defense. They're going to collapse the pocket against a rookie quarterback. I don't know if Jacksonville can get to that 17-point number, which means I can't take Jacksonville.
No, you can't take Jacksonville. And then, their best offensive player outside of DJ Chark, I suppose, James Robinson, the undrafted rookie free agent, he's battling a little bit of a shoulder issue. Now, a lot of running backs have that, and he's going to play. How much is that going to matter? Pittsburgh's a top 5 team against the run. You're not just going to run the ball down the throat of Pittsburgh. The real weakness is in the slot and over there on the left side of the defense with Steven Nelson. How much can Jacksonville take advantage of that? I don't know. The side's got to be Pittsburgh right now. Again, I'm not big on betting on double-digit favorites on the road, no matter who they're playing. It's just not something that ends up being very profitable. We have seen Pittsburgh play down to their competition just a couple weeks back against Garrett Gilbert in Dallas. I mean, they should have killed that Dallas team, and they ended up having to battle from behind to get the win in that game. So they are certainly susceptible to overlooking teams and playing down to their competition. So, I mean, I hate saying it a bunch. Like, if I'm picking a side, I'm picking Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh wins the game. Do I feel comfortable taking 10.5 or 11 points? Probably not. I might throw them in like when I do some of these 4, 5, 6, 7 pick parlays for fun. So I might throw Pittsburgh there as like a money line just to add a little bit of value to that, like a parlay piece. Even though there's not a ton of value there, it still adds a little bit of value to it. That's about the only way I'm betting this game. Pittsburgh's the obvious pick. Jacksonville's a dumpster fire. Keep an eye on the James Robinson injury information, but betting double-digit favorites on the road is just not a way to success typically in the NFL.
Yeah, Cat Thief in the chat box says Steelers 10-0, end of story. I think we can all agree with you on that. I would be absolutely shocked if they blew their undefeated season on Jacksonville. And the one also good thing about it is sometimes you take a look, let's just say they came in with 1 loss. They're still not going to overlook Jacksonville, but when you have that pristine 0, you really want to keep that a 0 because it's a matter of pride. I doubt they're going to lose the game to Jacksonville. I think they blow the doors off them. But again, it would be a little bit different thinking for me if that Ravens game was on Sunday as opposed to Thursday. A little bit because, hey, you're talking about coaches here that maybe they don't want to lay it all out on the line this weekend. Maybe they'll say, hey, you know what? Let's get our running game going. Not for the sake of what it's going to do in 10 games, but let's show the Ravens that we can hand it off 20 times and rush for 120 yards here and say, you have to defend this. That's what I'm looking forward to. I still think the Steelers win this game, but a little hesitant in the spot they're actually in. A game that I'm not getting too many numbers here on. We're going to flip it over to Cincinnati and Washington. Joe Burrow is going to take on Alex Smith. Let me see if I can flip it around here in a couple different outlets to get a line. 1.5, it looks like Cincinnati Bengals as a slight underdog in this game. And also if we take a look at an over-under, around 46 to 46.5. Talked about it on Tuesday. I think Cincinnati's a legitimate chance to go ahead and beat the Washington football team this weekend. I was hoping Joe Mixon would return. But again, if you're a running back, you've been out a couple weeks. So obviously his foot hurts him. He's not getting all that cardio in. He hasn't practiced Wednesday or Thursday this week. If he gets a limited practice on Friday, how effective can you be on Sunday? And will you get 2 carries? Hey, can't do it, man. My foot still hurts. I got to dip out. But I do think that passing attack for Cincinnati can give a lot of problems to the Washington football team defense. The only issue I have is, I joke about Cincinnati, probably my best friend on the season, because every time you go against their defense, it's an automatic team total. Alex Smith was average last week. If you just look at the numbers, hey Kyle, look what he's doing out here. And the week before, look at the yards. He's in a mode of coming back by double digits, even as much as 3 touchdowns, and throwing the ball out of the backfield. Everybody is wide open on a swing pass when you're down 14 or more points in the NFL. Washington is very effective at moving the football that way. Now you're anticipating them to win this game. It's tough taking the Cincinnati defense, but I do think Cincinnati's offense is markedly better than what the Washington football team brings to the table. And I said the same thing on Tuesday. Cincinnati's going up against a lot of tough competition over the past month and a half. Now you can take a breather in this game. We'll see if Mixon gets to the starting gate. Don't think he will, but I think that offense has a chance to put up some points and really put Washington into the corner.
Yeah, I do. And I got to mention this comment that someone would bet their alleged son on the Steelers. I love that. Listen,
I like it.
Black Friday, I did this last year. Ancestry DNA 2 for 1. So you get the 2 for $99. Test that boy, and then if it's not yours, send that check to your future ex-wife, I'm assuming, after you find that out. Great comment. Probably the comment of the week. So getting to the game, Cincinnati and Washington. Tough one. It's a tough one, right? And you look at it, the Washington defense, certainly better than the Cincinnati defense. Cincinnati, one of the worst defenses in the league. Then you look at the Cincinnati offense, certainly more weapons there with Green and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Probably no Mixon, Giovanni Bernard. It's going to be the short passing game again for Cincinnati, which is what they've been doing all year long. I agree with the line. I think it's essentially for me a pick'em game. I think these are two very similar teams. It's strength against weakness. Alex Smith, has looked competent, and which is shocking. He's not going to be run. He's not the same Alex Smith. He's not going to run for 50 yards a game. Obviously, they do not want him running. Really tough game for me to pick. I think I'm taking Washington. I'll just take that defense. I think they can put enough pressure on Cincinnati. They've been very good against the pass this year, especially in fantasy points allowed as well. They've actually been really, really good against the pass. Going to give Cincinnati some trouble on the other side. Antonio Gibson should be able to find some lanes. Terry McLaurin might be shadowed over there by William Jackson still, so that's a tougher matchup, but there's other. J.D. McKissick's been very good. I think Logan Thomas is live. Cincinnati, one of the worst teams in the league against opposing tight ends. So I think I'm going to lean Washington. Another close game, another tough one to bet. But right now, give me Washington for the outright win. And you're right, I'm looking at -1.5 across the board as well. So yeah, I like Washington.
Yeah, a lot of weak competition for Washington over the past couple of weeks. You had the Giants, Dallas Giants, and Detroit. So you're still going to get weak competition here with the Bengals, which they can perform. If you do watch Alex Smith play, and there's a lot to be said about just being a competent quarterback in the NFL, which he is. But when you're talking about losing a step, he's lost 3 steps as a quarterback. Not in his reads, not in his arm, because he never really threw the football downfield much. But he can't get away from anybody anymore. But having said that, Cincinnati doesn't bring any pass rush to get in the way. So when you take a look at those games like the Rams, where it was a 30-10 game, if you have a devastating pass rush, that's probably where you would look away from taking a Washington team. But both of these offenses, to me, should be able to operate. So if we get some good weather like we're anticipating in the D.C. area, we should be able to get over that total. Alex Smith and the Reds and the Washington football team should be in the 20s. Same thing with Cincinnati, which gives that game an honest play. So that's the way I'm looking more in that game as opposed to a side. But I do think Cincinnati is going to be that live dog at 1.5. Let's keep it moving at 1 o'clock. 465, 466. Tennessee and Baltimore. Ryan Tannehill versus Lamar Jackson. Last time we saw Baltimore taking a loss in the rain up in New England, and also with Tennessee getting a little bit extra rest. But they got bludgeoned at home by the Indianapolis Colts on Thursday Night Football. This game opens up with 65% of the tickets coming in on the Tennessee Titans, and that line opened up at 6.5. We saw a nice line movement downshifting to 5 and 5.5 across the board as a slight favorite here for the Baltimore Ravens. Over under this one opened up at 48.5. That has risen 1 full point to 49.5. Look like we're going to get some good weather conditions down there in the Charm City, and I do think we get some points. Key indicators here: 2 huge defensive linemen are probably going to miss this football game for the Baltimore Ravens, and that's going to play right into King Henry being able to run the football and opening up their passing game for the Tennessee Titans. But I have to say, I like the fact that Baltimore lost last week. I like the fact that they didn't hit their normal 24, 20-plus points in that game because the rain just allowed them to do it. I do think Baltimore scores points in this game, but I have to tell you, I agree with the line movement going from 6.5 to 5.5. I think Tennessee's going to be live in this game because their offensive line and their running game can now lean on that Baltimore defense, which is something you never thought anybody would say over the past 2 to 3 years, because usually they bully your running game. Also keep in mind that Tennessee has had some pretty good success in big spots against Lamar Jackson over the past couple of years. I think Baltimore does win this game. I think it's closer than that number, but I do think we get scoring. I like the over 49.5 in this game. I think both of these teams get into the 20s, one team pushing closer to that 30 number to push it over.
Yeah, I like Tennessee a lot. I think they're one of the livest dogs, if not the livest dog on the slate. Look, with no Nick Williams and no Calais Campbell, or Brandon Williams, we saw what New England did. They ran the ball down their throat, and Baltimore couldn't stop it. Then they had to bring everyone up in the box, which it took them way too long to do in that game to get done. The problem is you do that against Tennessee, which you're going to need to do is stop Derrick Henry without those 2 defensive tackles. You're going to get beat over the top. This is not Cam Newton throwing to Jacoby Myers and N'Keal Harry. Tannehill is a legit quarterback with legit weapons in Corey Davis and Adam Humphries, A.J. Brown. Adam Humphries probably won't play, and Jonnu Smith. Outside, I think Tennessee's the better football team. Now, I do not like the Tennessee defense. They cannot get after the quarterback. They have a terrible pass rush. But the thing is, against Lamar Jackson, are you really trying to have a dominant pass rush and basically playing into his strength where he rolls out and makes things happen with his legs? They're just by default, by being a crappy pass rush, they're going to be in those running lanes for Lamar Jackson. You kind of saw that last year, too, in the playoff game. And Baltimore, struggles when they are going to if they're going to have to rely on Lamar Jackson to throw them back into this game, and it won't shock me if Tennessee gets up early in this game, especially if they get the ball first. I think Derrick Henry runs it right down their throat. Baltimore cannot play from behind. So if you're betting Baltimore, you better hope they have a lead, because if they're down by 7 to 10 points going into that second half, it's going to be a long day for you, and you may as well turn that TV off, because they're not making that comeback. I like Tennessee. I think Tennessee wins this game outright. It's actually one of my favorite picks of the week and my favorite underdog of the week. Give me the Titans.
Yeah, I think the one thing I'm waiting on here, because again, like team totals come down to certain numbers, and that, I see the lowest at some of these New Jersey sports books here, 26.5 as a team total for Baltimore. I'm waiting on those 26s if they appear. So everybody out there in the chat box who does love Tennessee, do me a favor and plow Tennessee tonight so we can drop that down like 4.5, which would slide that team total down slightly under. I'm a buyer on the Baltimore offense, and it's wait, how can you watch this offense? It's just what they do. Take out the situation, right? Let's take a look on the season for the Baltimore Ravens here, right? Open up the season, Kyle, versus Cleveland, 38 points. Go play Houston, 33 points. They lose to Kansas City, and they were bad in that game, but still ended up putting up 20 points. Washington, 31 points. Cincinnati, 27. Philadelphia, 30. Pittsburgh, probably the best defense in the NFL, 24 points. And if you watch that game, stunted in the red zone a few times and even fumbled in the red zone. Then you move across to a top 3 defense, Indianapolis, 24 points. They only scored 17 points versus New England because it was a rainy, ridiculous night. Now you get them back into some nice weather conditions. They're going to put up 24-plus points in this game, which means Tennessee is going to have to, obviously, score into the high 20s. I think we get points in this game, but I'm also waiting to get that Baltimore Ravens price. You always want to buy teams when they're down, because what's the prognosis? What? Lamar stinks. They can't do anything. Look at their points per game and what they do, then put them into some nicer weather against a defense that's not as good as the Steelers or the Colts. They'll be able to move the football in there. And yes, even that Lamar can't throw for over 10 yards. It doesn't matter. They score 24 regardless. It just doesn't matter in these spots. So keep an eye out for that game. But I love to buy low on a team when people say Baltimore stinks, Baltimore stinks, Baltimore stinks. You know what's nice about Baltimore? Every time they cross the 50, it's an automatic 3 points, because they have the best kicker who has ever lived in the NFL. We'll see what happens in that game as we move forward. Let's get to the 4 o'clock games on Sunday. Just a few moments here, we'll be joined by Kelsey Kramer to go over some Pick Six contest picks, which last week, Kyle, 4-2 for me. How did you go this week, by the way?
I went 3-3 again. I got burned by a couple of teams, of course, your Eagles, but I am sitting there right around the 100th, like a 111th, about 8 games or 7 games over 500. So we're doing pretty good there. But yeah, another 3-3 week. But I did get some luck as well. Thank you to that Hail Mary putting me over the 56 in that Cardinals-Bills game. So I got bad luck and some good luck, so I'll take it. 3-3. Time for a 6-0 week this week.
Yep, and if you missed any of the picks there for a Week 11 picks, and look, this is how, we're not the stars of the show anymore, because if you see just below where me and Kyle are talking, there is a link below. It doesn't go to me or Kyle, actually. It goes to Kelsey Kramer's Week 11 picks there in this Pick Six contest. So if you guys still want to get in it, click that link right there. It'll show her picture up. You can get in the contest. You can't win obviously the end of the year prize if you've already missed 10 weeks of football, but get into the weekly picks here, pick up some cash and have some fun with it. And again, I did go 4-2. Kyle did go 3-3. So let's all remember that and make sure at the end of the week here. Let's keep moving here. As I said, get to the 4 o'clock games. Miami and Denver. Tua Tagovailoa. I got some resistance, as I like to say, on Twitter last night. I like to deal in facts and put it out there. Tua is 3-0. Love the young kid. He's a rookie. You're only graded as a rookie on what your record actually is, because he's a perfect 3-0. Brian Flores is an amazing head coach in the NFL. When you have all three, the offense, the defense, and the special teams, all 3 of them kicking into gear, you're going to get some good outputs. But I like to slow it down a little bit here as the numbers I put out. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it basically said, hey, look, the Jets average 266 yards per game, right? Dead last in the NFL, horrendous offense. Tua Tagovailoa in the Miami Dolphins offense has been averaging 20 yards less than the New York Jets output. So good for dead last. I'm not knocking the kid. As I said, you're graded on just winning football games, and that's what Miami is doing. But we know as gamblers over the long haul, I can't go into a game and say, hey, got a block punt, got an interception return, and a fumble return. That's 21 for my defense. The offense is going to have to saddle up and win a football game and get over 300 yards, as they've only done one time this year with Tua Tagovailoa, and that was like 312 yards. It wasn't like, hey, Kyle, 488 yards, man. They look really good. So we're going to slow it down on Tua. Love what the Dolphins are doing. Hell, they might even make the playoffs here with the next couple games they have. Now they go into Denver, decent defense. Who knows what we're getting out of Drew Lock? Are we getting the, oh, man, look at his fourth quarter effort against the Atlanta Falcons or the week before with the Chargers. Look at this. They can really score some points. Or are we getting the Drew Lock of last week? Like, dude, what have you ever played quarterback in the NFL in your life? Now he's banged up and injured. Missed Wednesday's practice. Came back and practiced on Thursday. What a wild card here. And this is the game of the week where I like to say, Kyle, everybody and they mama is taking those Miami Dolphins.
And I'm one of them. Look, we saw those two performances by Drew Lock, and, he, Fant, and Jerry Jeudy. It all looks like they're going to play. Those are the three most important players on that offense. I mean, you could argue Phillip Lindsay, I suppose. But they're all a little banged up coming in this game. Look, the fact is, when we've seen Drew Lock look good, it was in the second half against Atlanta, who can't keep a lead against anybody. It was in the second half against the Chargers, who can't keep a lead against anybody. Anyone else he plays against, he looks like absolute garbage. And if you get behind this Miami defense, they're going to shut you down. They have two shutdown corners. They get after the quarterback. You're, of course, a little bit concerned about the Van Noy injury for Miami. I'm trying to see if he practiced today. Didn't suit up yesterday. I haven't seen if he practiced today. So that's one injury to look at. But a better coach team in Miami. I like the young kid, the Ahmed kid running for Miami.
Yeah.
They even released Jordan Howard, sort of a find there for them. Matt Breida might be back. So give them some versatility there. No doubt about it. Getting Bryce Callahan back and watching him play another week to get healthy is big for Denver. He's one of the better corners in the league this year. He's putting up great numbers. I just don't think that Drew Lock can move the ball against a competent defense. And I see them getting behind again. And when you're behind by 17, you're not making a comeback this time against this Miami defense. This is not the incompetent Chargers and Anthony Lynn. This is not the, obviously, one of the worst front-running teams ever, the Atlanta Falcons, ever since that Super Bowl. So I think Miami has enough here to win. I think they win it pretty easily. Denver needs to get off to a fast start. I haven't seen them do it. I need to see it to believe it. So I'm going to be the square here and take the Miami Dolphins.
Now, I also have to preface this as well. When I look at Denver, I laid off Denver's team total last week, but I hit them the week before because you're trying to find overall value specifically on teams that haven't played well the last week, so everybody jumps off the wagon. So again, I look at this Denver line, and if I see that 20 coming up, Kyle, it's going to be sitting here doing one of these again.
That's it.
If you guys don't know, like me and Kyle like to talk a lot about pain, and you can make a lot of money by getting yourself into a lot of pain in the NFL. It might not be pretty, but some of these cash, you say, Donnie, how the hell can you look at the Denver Broncos and think of a team total? I've done it, and I've cashed in. Trust me.
That's right.
It is possible. I've taken Ben DiNucci and lost games on team totals, and coming back the very next week where they put another bum at quarterback and said, I love pain so much I'm coming back on those Dallas Cowboys. Trust me, you can lay down with those fleas and come up with the cash, and let's see if we can do it with Denver. Haven't said I'm taking Denver yet, but again, getting them hands ready for good sake.
I got some pain later. I can't believe I'm doing it, but I got some pain later myself. Here we go.
477, 478, the New York Jets and the Los Angeles Chargers. Rebirth, right? Early in the week. Oh, my God. What are you kidding me? 9 points, 8 points? Give me the Jets. Didn't you see the Jets play against New England? Chargers can't beat anybody. Now we let it play out for the week and say, all right, we got Joe Flacco at quarterback. How did he operate last week versus the New England Patriots? The Patriots have zero pass rush, and outside of a couple decent safeties, you're down Stephon Gilmore. No real athletic linebacker since they're all in COVID from the beginning of the season. You can't really do too much to an offense. Joe Flacco was able to operate. Now, here comes this week the Chargers. Well done. The Chargers defense aren't that good, but the Chargers have two elite defensive ends that will push that pocket, and Joe Flacco will be running for his life and reevaluating what he's still doing in the NFL. But the problem comes, Kyle, and I talked about it here. It's sticker shock. 10 points. The Chargers, who can't win football games. You can give them a 21-point lead. They don't even win outright. Now you're asking them to cover the 10. That is a tall task. But I tell you, the one tall task is not going to be. Justin Herbert is going to throw for 300-plus in this game. Justin Herbert's going to get 3 touchdowns. Keenan Allen's going to be open. Williams is going to be open. The tight ends are going to be open. The running back's going to have all day to run. This is a really poor Jets defensive team. The only issue is, which Joe Flacco are we getting this weekend, and can you bet them?
You can't trust either of these teams. I can't. It's crazy. You're right. It's absolutely it's sticker shock. It's like me right now. I'm trying to get a PS5 from my son, and I keep getting burned by every website. Then you find one available, and it's some asshole, who's selling it for $1,799 because he bought 6 of them on opening day, and I just want to elbow him right in the throat. But that's kind of what I'm looking at here. I mean, how can you trust the Chargers by double digits? But then you look at the other side, and that Jets secondary is going to be dreadful. And they just picked up everyone's superstar, Corey Ballentine. Anytime I see the opportunity to play offense against a team with Corey Ballentine on the field, I want to take that team. However, if I'm picking a side here, I'm picking the Chargers. I actually think this game has a nice chance of going over that 46. I don't think the Jets can stop the Chargers, and I actually do think the Jets can score because, surprisingly, even though Bosa's back, which is a huge addition, the rest of that Chargers defense has been absolutely terrible. So they're certainly vulnerable to some garbage time points in here. So I think going over the 46, the 46.5 makes a lot of sense. I lean to the Chargers, but I can't trust them as double-digit favorites. Another game I'm staying away from. No love for the Jets, no real love for the Chargers. I think I'll take the over. And like I said, if you're desperate to take a side, then you got to take the Chargers because you don't want to trust Joe Flacco.
I would lean towards it too because, I mean, you have all three of those wide receivers back, so you're going to get a little bit of a boost, and it's not a great defense for the Chargers, but the Chargers now, which last week they didn't have Bosa, which is coming into the game, I really wanted to take the Chargers saying, hey, again, rookie quarterback, two really, Ingram on one side, you have Bosa on the other side. Bosa sat out and is completely off the board for me. Now you get those guys back on turf. They'll have an elite pass rush. We'll see how much Joe Flacco wants this game, but I still think it's a nice learning curve for Justin Herbert where everybody is going to be wide open. The secondary that was abysmal is even worse this week, if that's possible. I can't see the Chargers. Again, let's play the game here. 21-20 Chargers more likely or 28-14 Chargers more likely? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, probably the 28-14. I don't know, man. The Chargers, I've seen them lose to teams they shouldn't have lost to so many times. Not just this year, but for years and years and years. This is the battle between probably two of the 4 worst head coaches in the NFL with Gase and Anthony Lynn. Of course, we're going to talk about our superstar here in a moment, Dallas, and bring some pain in there, as Donnie likes to say. But, the one thing I feel, I guess, best about, I'm not betting this game at all. My money will not touch this game. Is probably the over. And if I'm, like I said, picking a side, give me the Chargers because I certainly can't bet on Joe Flacco. And I love the kid Herbert. And you're right, matchups across the board are money for that offense. If they don't win this game, Anthony Lynn could very well find himself fired. This is a must-win for the Chargers, just for the head coach to keep their job. Now, if they were being smart, they would lose the game on purpose and try to get that number 1 overall pick, then have all these teams paying a small ransom for Trevor Lawrence to move up to number 1. But I don't think no team really does that. But this is the Super Bowl. Absolutely, make no mistake about it. We're looking at the Super Bowl this weekend.
Here we're at a good one, 4:25 p.m. We'll try to speed up a couple of these, just a few moments. We're going to bring in Kelsey Kramer to talk some Pick Six contest. Leroy Flood, our good friend of the show in the chat box, says, Donnie, I like the Packers money line. What do you think? Well, let's cover this game. And every time I see Leroy Flood in here, I just want to say, Leroy Jenkins. Yeah, exactly. Everybody's got to know what that is. So every time Leroy pops in here, that's immediately what I go to here. But let's get to this game. Green Bay and Indianapolis, a really good game, 461, 462. 6 out of every 10 tickets here. Coming in on the road team, the Green Bay Packers. Were they really impressed by that game where it was a coin flip in the fourth quarter against Jacksonville Jaguars at home? Last time we saw Indianapolis putting away the Tennessee Titans, extra rested and ready, opens up at -1, saw it as high as 2.5. Now it's back. We got some shifting numbers here. Pinnacle still showing a 2.5. Chris Offshore 1.5. Bet365 in New Jersey -2. So all over the board, an over-under that opened up at 49 now sits at 51 across the board. I like the under in this football game, but taking a look at it from a tactical perspective, like the brakes hit, like you're driving 55, 60, 70 miles an hour down the roadway, and I slam on the brakes when I see Devontae Adams not practicing 2 straight days and say, wait a second here. He's out of this football game. That defense is going to be able to tee off on Aaron Rodgers, focus on the running game, and say, what, Alan Lazard coming back is supposed to beat us here? That is a major cog in that offense that is banged up or doubtful, because if he's one of those players that goes into Julio Jones mode, Kyle, if you don't know what I mean by that is, let me play 2 series and head off into the locker room. The Colts are going to win this football game. That is a major concern. As the information we know now, which we'll be able to update on our Sunday show, I'm going with Indianapolis here.
Yeah, I like the Colts. I do not like the Packers when they're facing a tough team. And the Indianapolis Colts are a tough physical team. They have a fantastic defense. They can run the ball. Green Bay does not respond well when the other team is more physical than them. And we know that Indianapolis can run the ball on Green Bay. Now, can Green Bay run the ball on Indianapolis? Unlikely. It's going to be a tough matchup in the secondary, even if Devontae Adams plays. I actually like the under quite a bit in this game. I do think you see a struggle for Green Bay to move the ball, and the Colts always do just enough. They're not going out there to score 35 or 40 points. They're, 24 to 27 range. I think they hold Green Bay into the teens, low to high teens. I don't like Green Bay this week. I like the Colts quite a bit. Too physical, too tough, too well coached. When you have those three things happen, Green Bay really, really struggles. Look at that Tampa Bay game a few weeks back. I think Green Bay struggles a lot. And now with Devontae Adams possibly missing, they're dead in the water. I like the under, and I like the Colts quite a bit this week.
You got a great point, and I think you hit the nail on the head, because when you take a look at Green Bay, where they can overpower a team or out-finesse a team, they can really get after it. Devontae Adams banged up a little bit. This is not a team that says, you know what, let's get into a fist fight and beat you up in like the front lines. They can't do that, and one of the toughest-ass defenses in this league is on Indianapolis. Darius Leonard is activated at middle linebacker. You're not going to bully that defense, so we'll see what happens here. Keep an eye on that Devontae Adams injury. We'll update you on Sunday during our show on the closing line to get you ready for that 469-470 Dallas and Minnesota 425 game. Maybe before the season we thought this was going to be a titanic battle, but now looking at the Minnesota Vikings trying to climb back and make it into the playoff race, and everybody is activated in the NFC East. So technically Dallas should be motivated. I saw the line as high as 9 for this game between the Cowboys and the Minnesota Vikings. Dips back to 7, and as I like to say, I agree with that line movement. Do I like the Dallas Cowboys overall as a football team? No. This is more an indictment of the Minnesota Vikings, who went out and played a Chicago team that had absolutely zero on offense. And a Nick Foles fourth down throw that was a little long, if that's completed, the Minnesota Vikings get beat by that Chicago Bears football team. I think Dallas can hang around in this. I don't think Minnesota can win by double digits. That's the way I'm going here. Give me the 7 here on Thursday.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but Dallas is an absolute live dog in this game. I actually think the Cowboys can win this game. And you guys all know I hate Mike McCarthy. Yeah. God, I might have to get like I don't know, they don't have Mike McCarthy jerseys. What would that be? Like a Mike McCarthy couch cover? I don't know what the hell that would be. One of his shirts would probably cover my entire couch. But they have the weapons that is going to give this Minnesota defense fits. Another week off. Ezekiel Elliott getting healthy. I do think Andy Dalton is a competent player this week. That Minnesota defense is dreadful. The Dallas defense is dreadful. But when you look at Cooper and Lamb and Gallup and Zeke, I think they absolutely are live dogs this week, and I like getting the 7 points. As much as I hate to say this, I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys on the road to cover and possibly win this week. I cannot believe I'm saying that about a Mike McCarthy coach team, but I didn't see a lot out of Minnesota. I don't think they're very good as well. There's actually going to be points in this game. I love the over in this game. I don't think either defense can stop the other offense. Lots of points. Dallas squeaks it out and puts themselves in position to win that daunting NFC.
Out here, you're going to have a fast turf in this one. I lean on the over in this game total, but I do like the Dallas Cowboys a little bit more, getting the points. 471, 472. The late game, Sunday Night Football. Patrick Mahomes back with the Kansas City Chiefs, fresh off a bye, going up against the Las Vegas Raiders, who beat them last time in Kansas City. I remember doing the show with you. We really liked the Las Vegas Raiders in that game, and I also had a team total in that game that they obliterated relatively quickly. They have a lot of components that can frustrate Kansas City's defense, but at the same time, it looks like we're going to get a full punch from the offense from Kansas City. It looks like Mahomes going to have all his weapons, or most of his weapons here at wide receiver, with Watkins coming back. If we look at the over-under this game, line sitting around, some places have this off the board, 8s and 56.5. The reason they have it off the board is there's a lot of COVID issues with the defense for the Las Vegas Raiders. Most of these guys are going to be back probably either tomorrow or Saturday. The people that have COVID aren't really issued in here. It's just one of those close contact things that they can be cleared with a couple tests. Early in the week here, I shouldn't say early in the week since it's Sunday, boy, it's really hard to take, Kansas City -8 on the road, but it's hard to say, how do you go against it? If they're going to win the football game, do we think they're going to squeak it out and win by 2? Chances are probably not. They just keep going. And also added motivation we talked about on Tuesday, Andy Reid, who usually is a happy, jovial guy, saying repeatedly, I don't like them blowing those horns around the stadium. Maybe it's one of those things where, Kyle, you're up 7 late in the game on the 20-yard line with 2 minutes to go. Usually hand it off. Maybe you roll out of the pocket and throw a dart in the end zone and say, honk on that bad boy. We're in the end zone again. Interesting game here. Lean Kansas City, but I can't get a great feel in this game until I see who's in or who's out.
Yeah, all those considerations for Vegas, all those COVID players is a problem. But I like the Chiefs even if they all play. I think they bleeped up. I don't think you should have ran your mouth and done that to the Chiefs. Now you get Andy Reid coming off a bye. I like Kansas City quite a bit in this game. I think they beat the brakes off them, and I think you make a great point. They are not going to take their foot off the gas. If they're up by 14 late and there's a minute and a half left in the game and the Raiders are going for it on 4th down from their own 10 and the Chiefs get the ball back, guess what's happening? They're going to come out and score again and go up by 21. They are going to make a statement to the Raiders in this game. I like Kansas City. No weather issues there in that beautiful stadium in Las Vegas. I like the Chiefs, and I actually like them to win by double digits in this game. Bad move by the Raiders to run their mouth. They're taking the L this week.
Yeah, steady streaming here, Kyle. Close to 300 people watching live all the way throughout the show. Awesome stuff here with you. Thank you for that. Look at that, 52 thumbs up in the chat box to 1 thumbs down. Maybe they don't like the pain, Kyle, that we like to give out on a couple of these games, but you can't make everybody happy. And I got to say, maybe it was me that pushed the thumbs down when Kyle was talking. So
yeah, it's my punchable face. As Kelsey told everyone last week, that's my slappable face that made someone thumbs it down. So
there you go. One more game we'll get to real quickly because, again, we're going to hit this game on Sunday and also obviously on the Monday Night Football show that we do live. We'll cover this game in depth. A really good one between the Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 50-50 ticket split here at SBRodds.com. The line has moved from that 3 with some juice up to 4s across the board. I agree with it here. And just to keep it simple, the front 7 for Tampa Bay is going to be able to get after that front line now that Whitworth's going to miss this game, the outstanding left tackle for the Los Angeles Rams. The question that comes into it is Aaron Donald going to be enough to move Tom Brady off his spot? If I'm trusting defenses in this particular game, I'm trusting Tampa Bay more. And the one thing I can't wait to see is how Jared Goff under pressure, how he performs. It's usually not good. Tampa Bay by a touchdown in this one for me, Kyle.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I am nervous about this game because what do the Rams do? They bring pressure up the middle. What gives Tom Brady the most difficult time throughout his career? Pressure up the middle. Now he's got one of the best of all time in Aaron Donald giving him pressure right up the middle. It's just really, can you trust Jared Goff under the same scenario? They both have terrific secondaries, both have terrific front 7s. This is going to be a fantastic game. Really tough for me to take a side right now. I think I'm with you. I lean Tampa Bay. I trust Brady a little bit more than Jared Goff. And, I was kind of on the over early in the week. These are 2 competent offenses as well. As I look down into it, these defenses are going to give the quarterbacks fits. So I could see the under here right now early in the week. We got some more time to prepare for this, and obviously we're going to talk about this a lot on Monday, but I would lean. I think I'm with you, leaning Tampa Bay right now, but I don't think you're crazy for taking the Rams.
No, I'm looking forward to that game. That'll be a great game to be on the air. We'll have Flash call the plays 10 minutes before we actually see them. We'll see if Tom Brady can pull it out. Yeah. We'll have some fun and do some stuff. But now, time to talk a little pick 6 contest, and I can't say it enough. Like, you guys are going to hear from me a lot when I go 3-3s most of the time. But when I go 4-2, hit the double down. We're going to talk about it. Now we're going to bring in Kelsey Kramer to talk even more Week 11 pick 6 context picks. This is our first lady of football. Welcome into the show, our Thursday spot to talk a little bit of football with Kelsey Kramer.
Hello.
What's good out there, huh?
It's good. It's been really hot this week. I'm loving it.
Tell that to Kyle's bundled up over there, and I can see
it's
the smoke
freezing
over here. What's going on up there, Kyle?
It did. It snowed this morning. It literally snowed. I woke up and it snowed. And I do not like the snow. I fell on my ass last Saturday walking out on the ice, biffed it hard. I'm getting old, thought my hip was broken, but I'm okay. I'm healing up nice, so I'm jealous of the hot weather.
Yeah, if you guys actually don't know, Kyle actually comes live on Thursdays from a jail cell. We just dropped the banner down in the back. It's cold. It's cold. It's concrete, all that good stuff here. Kelsey, welcome to the show. By the way, how'd you do last week in your Pick 6 contest picks overall?
I was 3-3, 50-50. It's okay. I mean, that's better than...
Now, hold on. Kyle, what did you go last week?
I went 3-3 as well. Yeah.
Kelsey, what did you go again last week?
3-3. Are you double checking right now?
No, he's bragging.
No, because now it comes to me. I sort of forget what I caught. What did I think I went 4-2 last week.
It's funny how we talk about this more when we talk about a whole lot less when I'm 5-1. A couple weeks ago, it didn't even come up. Didn't even make the show.
I don't even think we didn't even promote the Pick Six contest that week. So on and off. But tonight we got a big football game tonight, Kelsey. Now we know you had a busy week. It was either having a couple of shots or beers. It was either bleaching your shoes or fixing a bed. But now we get to get down to business today and talk a little Arizona Cardinals football, your new hometown squad on the road. What are we looking at tonight between those Seahawks and those Arizona Cardinals?
All right, well, I did check the weather because now y'all have me checking the weather.
Yes, there you go.
I love the over for the Cardinals, but this time I am taking the under, and it's not so much the weather. It is more so that the past 4 games on the road for the Cardinals, they've hit the under. I think that 58.5 is what I had it at is a lot. I'm looking at more of a 54, maybe 56 game, but I just don't see them doing that 60-point game that they did on that Sunday night primetime. Russ is back home, and he's the best at home. Still, their defense is banged up. I like Murray a lot more than Russ. I love the Cardinals, and I like the under here.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of points. We went over the last game, and they scored 71 points. But again, a lot has to happen. The hard thing about that, when you take a look at the 57, 58, 59, whatever some of these ridiculous numbers come in at, these games could be dead unders in the first half. You even saw it last week, Kelsey, with the Arizona Cardinals and the Buffalo Bills. No way that game was going over. And before you can blink your eye, it's like, what just happened in the fourth quarter here? So a lot of crazy stuff out here. Darren Cole in the chat box says, dementia, Donnie. I don't call it dementia. I call it selective memory that usually comes up on my end here. Now, let's move it over to the D.C. area. Cincinnati, Kelsey, going on the road. Joe Burrow offense finally gets a chance to go up against a defense that they might be able to go up and down the field with. Are we trusting the rookie going on the road to pick up a victory here? Or is it going to be the Washington football team and their one-legged quarterback getting the W?
No, I definitely like Cincy here. Washington, they haven't had a tough schedule. So we've seen the Bengals keep it tight. And Joe Mixon could be back. I like the -1.5 for the Bengals. Alex Smith is, he had a good game last week, but that was against the Lions. I like the Bengals.
I started out last week, Kelsey, cursing Alex Smith and his name and then cheering him and singing his praises by the end of the fourth quarter. Kyle, what are we thinking in this game between Cincinnati and Washington here? I think we're on the same wavelength where we think they can get the job done here,
Yeah, I think it's a tough game. I've gone back and forth. I like that Washington defense, but I just don't know if you can trust the offense to do enough. And the Bengals have a ton of weapons. It's a little tough. I'm not touching this game. I think it takes a lot of guts to bet this game, and I just like to sit back and see if Alex Smith's legs are going to stay attached for the whole game, and I just pray that his kids aren't in the stands watching, and I'm just cringing the whole time every time he gets tackled. It's like one of those things. It's like Hot Tub Time Machine, when the guy's about to lose his arm and you're trying to look but not look. That's kind of what I'm doing every time he drops back. It's really close for me. I think it's a toss-up, but I'm sort of leaning Washington the more I think about it.
Kyle's always about to give them kids, man. Every time we bring up Alex Smith, he is worried about those kids out there. So
worried about
we'll keep it up in this one. How about this one, Kelsey? Going down to Florida, Jacksonville and Pittsburgh. Last time we saw Pittsburgh blew the doors off the Cincinnati Bengals. Now you're going to go down and play a defense that is Jacksonville's defense any better than Cincinnati's defense is? They look good through the air, struggling a little bit on the ground, but this is a team they should be able to put away. But as Kyle talked about earlier when we were going over the game, this is a tough look-ahead spot there for the Pittsburgh Steelers, having the Baltimore Ravens on Turkey night, and they want to get after that game. Win and get out. Do you think they put the Jacksonville Jaguars away, or are we going to get a close game in this one?
I don't see a close game. I don't know how you can't take the Steelers here, even at -10.
Give them the 10. I'll take the 10 instead.
Yeah, I love that. God.
Big Ben came out of quarantine throwing 333 yards, 4 touchdowns. I'm scared for Luton, isn't it? It's his 3rd start on the year for the Jags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Kyle, are you worried about Jake Luton's kids, Kyle, also?
No, not his kids. I'm not sure he's old enough to have kids yet. I'm more concerned. Like, it's just those, Alex Smith's wife is up there like, oh my God, just don't let him get tackled. And those kids are up there cheering. What are they going to do when the leg is like going through the goalpost in the other direction? Like, no. Next thing you know, he's going to be doing Super Beta Prostate commercials with Joe Theismann. Absolutely not. No, I'm scared to death for his kids. It scares me. I have a love-hate relationship with the Alex Smith, but I do agree Pittsburgh should beat the brakes off of Jacksonville.
No, a lot of times also, Kelsey, when you're looking at the picks that you have in here, it's about getting overall value, and that's really a lot of, winning 50-50 games here. Take a look at tonight. You see the 56.5 that are now coming across the board. You have the 58 in that game. Cincinnati's still hanging out in that 1.5 range, and then you take a look at the Steelers game, which you have at -10, where we're seeing 10.5s across the board, and that's a big price point moving forward because that's the difference between a missed extra point, a made extra point, double-digit victory. So if you win the game by 10, you get the push, but obviously if it's 10.5 or 11, you're going to take the loss in that game. Let's keep moving here. Your hometown Falcons, you're going on the road, and again, taking the +5 here as I'm looking at here with the Atlanta Falcons, and I now see 4s going across the board. A rested and ready Matt Ryan versus Jameis Winston. We might even get an upset here down in the Dome, Kelsey.
I think so. Breathe out. Winston here last time threw a touchdown.
Was to Deion Jones. So, Donnie, what are you thinking?
It sounded weird. Did it sound weird for you?
Yeah, it did. It's
I
good
thought Skeletor was talking. Yeah, it was scary. It sounded weird is all.
Hold on, can you hear me?
Yeah,
you're good now. Yeah, you're good now.
But yeah, I think Atlanta has the edge here. Calvin Ridley should be back. Kamara might be out. Breeze out. I'm rolling with the Falcons. I don't know if they'll win, but I think they can cover that spread.
I think they can too. I do. I think they're live in this game. I think you're going to get a good, competent effort out of Atlanta. I love New Orleans defense here, but now you throw in Jameis Winston, a little bit of a wild card, and you're not even asking Atlanta to win the football game. You're just asking them to hang around, which I do think they can in this game. So I think Kyle is in agreement with you, right?
Yep, 100%, even though it's weird because, Atlanta could be up by like 475 points and somehow lose this game, but I don't think it happens this week. I think the defense is also playing better, and Cam Jordan could miss this game for New Orleans as well. Marshawn Lattimore banged up, so a lot of factors there. I agree. I like Atlanta.
By the way, in the chat box, a good one missed on this. Jay says copper socks. That would be great. Look, if your bone is out of the socket through your skin, put these copper fit socks on. Good to go. Look at me. I can play. That is one.
He could be throwing passes to Brett Favre. Nice.
Yeah. And Jerry Rice. He could be actually a agent coming up with that. You can sell that as it comes down the road. Say, look, I got arthritis. Why do you have arthritis? Well, my bone was out through my leg. So, stuff there on that. Let's get to another game here and talk, Kelsey. The Chiefs, Sunday Night Football, going to Las Vegas to the Death Star. Last time didn't work out so well for the Chiefs. Are we looking for a comeback here on the Chiefs with a victory? Or the Las Vegas Raiders and John Gruden double time them and get that sweep of the season?
Mahomes gets his redemption. Andy Reid has gone 18-3 after bye weeks, including last year when they smoked them 40-9. I'm looking for that again this weekend. I don't know if it'll be that big of a point spread, but touchdown Chiefs.
Yeah, showing you got it at -6. Again, beating the number because it looks like it's trying to appear. Some books there took it off at 8. I doubt it would get – if this line gets to 5.5, we might have to be driving the Brinks truck over to a couple sports books here in New Jersey. But that is a great line to get. Monday Night Football, which we'll be live on for our betting telecast. The Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Good battle setting up here. Last time we saw Tampa Bay, looks like they finally got right, heading back home. But last time they had a home game, only put up 3 points in an embarrassing loss to the New Orleans Saints. Now they're going to take on the Rams, who come over from the West Coast to the East Coast after a nice victory over Seattle. But this is a different animal here on that Tampa Bay defense and what they faced the past week versus the Seattle Seahawks. Which way are we going here, Kelsey, on Monday Night Football with your pick 6 picks?
I am leaning Tampa. You have the highest scoring offense versus a very daunting defense, but still Tampa has that defense to balance them out. They changed up their offensive line last week, and we saw that against Carolina when they smoked them 46-23. I took Carolina. Oh, that was another loss. But I like Tampa here, -3. I think, 3.5.
I think it's a good move there. And also, you brought up an interesting point about the front line. Ali Marpet's one of the best guards in football. He's been out a few weeks. He's anticipated to come back. And what a better time to have him come back than the big number 99 that sits right over the guards. That should be a key indicator to watch this game. But I do think Tom Brady and Tampa Bay is overall better than the Rams. I think it'll be a good game, but I think Tampa Bay ends up with the victory, and I'm calling it by about 7 points. So that'll do it for our Thursday edition. Look, it's nice, Kyle. We used to start the show at an hour. Now we extend it to an hour 20, maybe next week an hour 30. We'll just keep going. I have nothing better to do. Kelsey doesn't have anything better to do either. Of course, Kyle certainly has nothing better to do. So.
Nothing to do.
Definitely.
I'm just ordering facial products looking young. Look at these. No bags.
He's got the eye cream going. I mean, he's trying out for his next job, We don't know how long we have Kyle for. Kudos to him for working on his face over there. So.
That's it. The slappable face, if you will, if you remember last week. Still haven't gotten over that, so I'm just hanging out here with my slappable face. Very hurt by that. Very hurt.
No, and a lot of very positive comments here in the chat box for Kelsey, so she can go back and read those super positive comments later in the show if she would like to do that. But we always have a good time with Kelsey coming on. We do thank you for coming on. If you haven't done so yet, and we had a good little laugh out of this, Kelsey, because as we said, we're no longer the stars. At least we think we're some stars of some shows here on the internet. But now it says Kelsey Kramer's Week 11 NFL picks. That used to say, like, if you want to check out Kyle and Donnie here on the show, click this. So it's clear that we don't drive clicks anymore. It's Kelsey driving the clicks on the show. And we're certainly happy to have her on. But thank you guys once again for spending your Thursday with us. You're talking a little bit of NFL football, Week 11. Kyle and I will be back on Sunday breaking down all the Week 11 action, carrying you right through to kickoff right here on sportsbookreview.com. Can't thank you guys enough. We are so close to 74,000 subscribers here in the chat box. That is awesome stuff. If you haven't done so yet, click that subscribe button. Turn your notifications on every time both myself, Kelsey, and Kyle go live to talk NFL. You will get it delivered directly to your inbox. And for the show today, I'm Donnie Seymour. She's Kelsey Kramer. He's Kyle Purviance. We are sportsbookreview.com, and this was your Week 11 NFL show for Thursday. Good luck tonight, guys.